Ennigaldi-Nanna. I think this one's gonna be hard.
Why?
Well, she's so far in the past, I don't think we can see clearly at that distance. I mean, her father was the king of Babylon. He ruled in the 6th century BCE.
That's more than 2,500 years ago.
And
And?
we don't know what she looks like. And
And?
she wasn't an artist. At least, not as far as we can tell. She's important for another reason.
What was her name again?
From what I'm reading, we don't know the name this princess was given at birth, because at some point she got a new role in her society. The name she took was Ennigaldi-Nanna, which means the moon god requests a high priestess.
So, where was this?
Well, today, it's the country of Iraq. From those ancient civilizations came the first writing, the first laws, the first religion, the first wheel, the first mathematics. The great city of Ur was founded almost 6,000 years ago and was known by its giant ziggurat, like a giant pyramid with steps. Today, this part of the world is mostly desert, but then it was marshy and good for farming. The river changed course, the area dried up, the people moved away, and the giant ziggurat got covered up with sand.
We might not be able to get to her with our clear sight, but we can do our best.
Let's start close to modern times and go back through layers then.
Like an archaeologist.
Right.
First, let's look back about 100 years ago, to 1925. The British Museum pays for an archaeologist named Sir Leonard Woolley to excavate the city of Ur. In each layer of earth, usually you find artifacts that are from about the same time. Like modern stuff is on top of the ground, then all the stuff from 100 years ago is together. 500 years ago, you get the idea.
Right, makes sense.
As Leonard Woolley dug further down, he unearthed a palace and a temple and a library, and next to the library he found a mysterious room. Just in this one room, time periods were mixed together. Everything should have been about the same age, but he found items that were much older than the room they were in. If these objects had fallen together by accident, like into a trash heap, it would have been very disorganized. But actually, it was very systematic. And even weirder, these objects had clay cylinders with them, each one with writing on it, saying what the object was.
I know what that is.
It's a museum!
That's right, it was Ennigaldi-Nanna's museum, the first known public museum in the history of the world. The labels were in multiple languages. Hello, modern museums. And they explained why each object was important.
She was doing this 2,500 years ago with objects that were 2,500 years older than that? What made her even want a museum?
Well, Ennigaldi-Nanna's father, Nabonidus, thought that knowing the history of the great civilizations would help him keep his empire together. He wanted to say that his kingdom was great by connecting it to these other great kingdoms. Nabonidus wrote this: "The temple I excavated, its ancient foundation stone I sought. 15 square cubits I dug down for the foundation stone, which for 3,200 years no king my predecessor had seen." One of the old traditions he wanted to revive was worship of the moon god. Part of the custom said that to restore a temple, the people had to excavate it and clean it out. This is how Nabonidus found the artifacts. And that's how Ennigaldi-Nanna became the priestess and got her name. She also became the head of a priestess training school for high-ranking girls, and the curator of a museum to teach them about history the way Nabonidus wanted her to. So even though she wasn't an artist or writer, she told her stories in a different way. It was as if Leonard Woolley, the archaeologist collecting for the British Museum, saw Ennigaldi-Nanna, the first curator, looking back at him across the centuries. Both of them are thinking back on the history of great civilizations, and not sure if a record of their own would remain. The artifacts that Ennigaldi and her father had collected were taken to London and put in the basement of the British Museum.
Whoa.
This is like what you were saying about having artwork hidden in the basement of a museum.
Yeah, so much of all the art isn't on display in museums. It's just been there for so long they don't even know it's there.
So the archaeologists just took all this stuff to London?
Right. Just like Ennigaldi-Nanna told a story about her father's empire through exhibits in her museum, Leonard Woolley wanted to create a story. His story was about the wealth and power of the British Empire, and why it deserved to take artifacts from around the world.
So how is us rescuing these works of art from the past any different?
Well, that doesn't seem like it's working.
We can't change history when we go back to encounter an artist. But those archaeologists ignored the people living in Iraq who helped with excavations and could have created their own museums.
Weren't they afraid that stuff would get stolen?
Actually, it doesn't seem like the British Museum is a great place to leave your stuff if you don't want it stolen.
Okay, but really, did anyone bring anything back?
Nope again. Who's next?